morning, everyone. We have our first keynote of the day, which is on digital public infrastructure by Mr. Abhay Hota. Let me introduce Abhay Hota, sir, please, and then we'll start with the core topic. So Mr. A.P. Hota is the former head of Payment Systems Department in Reserve Bank of India, RBI, and former managing director and CEO of National Payment Corporations of India, NPCI. At RBI, he had played the key role in introduction of check transaction system and NEFT and rapid expansion in the access of usage of RTGS system. During his tenure as founder, MD and CEO of NPCI, he worked on implementation of the next generation payment systems like IMPS, RuPay Domestic Card Network, Aadhaar-based payments systems like APS, FASTag, and today's much talked UPI as well. All of these payment systems have radically transformed the payments landscape in the country and placed India as a leader of digital payments ecosystem in the world. No discussion of digital payment public infrastructure is complete without reference to UPI. Post-retirement from NPCI, Mr. Hota is an independent director in boards of few institutions, including role of board of chairman at Federal Bank and NSE Clearing Limited. He is also board member at Protein e-Governance Solutions and RBI Innovation Hub. So welcome, Mr. A.P. Hota, to our DPI track here. So I'll start with a couple of key questions on digital public infrastructure and the way it has evolved into Indian landscape. And clearly, the DPI is part of the overall flagship kind of a success that India as a country has, and many of the other countries are taking this as a reference model. So since this is Asia Pacific and many of the participants may not have bird's eye view of DPI or digital public infrastructure, my first question, Hota sir, is to you about what you mean by a DPI, and can you explain with some examples about what digital public infrastructure really, to its heart, mean?
Thank you, Mr. Mane. At the outset, thanks to the organizers and thanks to the sponsor like you for this session with the startups. It is my pleasure being in this session and share my thoughts on DPI. DPI, as the name suggests, digital, means it has to be digital, not physical. Public infrastructure, public, not a private one, which is proprietary, means it is open. And infrastructure means it is not just one technology tool, but a set of technology tools. So like highways, railways, ports, museum, parks, public parks, they are the physical infrastructure. The equivalent to that you can just imagine in public service. So your identity infrastructure like UID's Aadhaar system, payments infrastructure like UPI, keeping the information at one place, enabling public to keep the information at one place in infrastructure like DigiLocker. The new infrastructure that has been created like ONDC, almost like a digital commerce, like Amazon and Flipkart or Paytm or this kind of infrastructure where people can log in and buy goods and services. So ONDC, like credit network enablement, like OCEN, which framework which is just in the in formative stage. Account aggregator in the health stack, which is under development, the education stack, which is under development. So all these building blocks of digitally providing services on a digital infrastructure is the DPI. So DPI is, you can say in simple terms, it is a set of technology tools and enablement infrastructure whereby public in general are served, and they are open, expandable. Many people access is democratic in nature. This, in brief, is DPI.
Thank you, Mr. Hota. I think this is pretty wonderful introduction to all of our audience here from the Asia Pacific side, and then let's set the context for today's discussion. So, Mr. Hota, about various elements of the DPI that you have seen so far, which one do you think are mature, which one are emerging, and how do you see the road ahead here?
Of various infrastructure that I talked about, just mentioned and made a passing reference, the one that which are being talked about a great deal and which are I think are mature. One is the digital identity infrastructure. UIDI is Aadhaar-based system. So identity of a person is very, very important. Like who I am, I need to really, if I want to develop something somewhere, I need to really say, I am the person. And for that, what is it that I would establish that I am Abhay Hota. You know, my date of birth is this. My gender is male. My permanent address is this. So this identity that I need to give whenever I would like to provide this service, that itself is a very important infrastructure in any kind of service. Whether I want to take a job, whether I want to apply for passport, whether I want to open a bank account, whether I want to really go in, even I go to the hospital and get admitted, they would like to know my name, where I come from, what is my age and everything. If I need to establish myself that this is this is who I am, that itself used to be a challenge. In fact, for a country like India with 1.4 billion population, at some point of time, hardly about 49%, less than 50% adult population, they were banked. They did not have bank account because banks were also really challenged as to how to really open large number of bank accounts at one go. That process has got simplified by creating a digital identity infrastructure whereby I can really, if I want to open the bank account, obviously the banks for KYC purpose, they would like to know my details. Now, if I go and give my Aadhaar card, identity card itself is already pre-validated through a particular robust process. And through a robust process, if my identity has already been established, my date of birth has been certified through some other means by the secondary information, the Aadhaar card itself can provide a lot of information about me. And the banks, if from the Aadhaar identity itself, they can get a lot of information about me. So just by showing the Aadhaar card, they get a lot of information, that too in a digital form, and it can directly be downloaded from a central infrastructure, from a repository of identity information, and it can directly be downloaded into the bank system. If that happens, then the bank account work gets easier. So this is one application of UIDI. Now, really, let us take another use case of UIDI. Now, like voter ID. Voter IDs are there, have been there, but if voter IDs are also verified with reference to another identity infrastructure. So here I would like to say, identity infrastructure is the basic foundation of any identity. This is the really a foundational identification. And the functional identifications are like voter ID. Voter ID is also an identification card. PAN card, which is the tax information network given card, is also an identity card. But that identity card has a limited purpose. Voter ID is for voting purpose, and also this secondary, it is also an officially valid, address proof. So identity, UIDA is identity card, which is also a address proof card, basic foundation. On the top of that, voter ID, your PAN card, then let us take passport. Passport is for travel purpose. Passport is not used for identity. It is a functional identity. Basic identity is Aadhaar card. Then let us take driving license. This is the driving license gives that you are the person really who has the license to drive. So this is another identity card that you are a licensed person who is done that. So once the basic identity infrastructure is foundational identity is linked to the functional identities in all possible ways, then Aadhaar card, which is the foundational ID, becomes their linked ID. So once the linked ID is established, then many of the government benefit transfers can also be pushed by just getting the Aadhaar number as the basis. Like the government, various kinds of payments the government that used to do in kind could be moved, or could be in terms of monetary benefits, could be given once the identity infrastructure is well established. Then they have the bank account, and behind that, in the government machinery, with reference to the identity infrastructure, with the address proof, if the government machinery has the idea about my economic status, my family's income, and many other things, they can also identify the beneficiaries on the basis of identification number. And with the identification number, they can just push the money transactions, the benefit transactions, because with that identity number is also the bank account is already linked. So one, digital infrastructure supports another digital infrastructure, like how to deliver the benefit transfer to the poor. So it is in this way that the government, after UIDA's identity infrastructure came to a certain level, when PMJDY scheme, Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana was launched, PMJDY was launched with the purpose of democratization of banking services, banking and financial services. A massive project for financial inclusion could take place, because now the identity problem is resolved. With the identity problem being resolved, let us really try to give more and more banking services. So the bank accounts could be opened at various banks, public sector banks and private sector banks. In fact, during the 2014, when it was launched, within a period of 3 years, a significant, almost 300 million, 280 million could be done. And now it is close to about 400 million bank accounts. 400 million bank accounts could be opened with huge digital public infrastructure, which is UIDI. Added to that, in the payment system, when NPCI, which I had the privilege of leading, had created a domestic card payment infrastructure like Visa and MasterCard, a domestic card payment called RuPay. With the RuPay card being given as a debit card, now with the debit card, people can really draw money from the ATMs, and with the bank account linkage, money can be transferred. And while really doing the cash withdrawal, there could be many people who may not have the debit card, or they are not sufficiently educated or sufficiently trained on use of ATMs, and use of ATMs being limited. They can really withdraw money by doing the authentication, that it is they who are, with the biometric authentication. So since the biometric authentication is also a part of identity infrastructure, with the biometric authentication, they would be able to withdraw cash at the remote area. A new payment system called AEPS, Aadhaar Enabled Payment System, that is also a part of DPI, could be created as a top-up service on access to banking system and with the UIDAI system with biometric authentication. So now with this authentication, people can really, delivery of public services can be done directly into the bank account, and it has saved significant amount. The fake beneficiaries are gone. In one of the state governments, it is gathered some 500,000 fake teachers were there. Teachers' salary used to be drawn on, even the teachers were non-existent, and the salary used to be given. The existence, even in for different kind of benefit transfers, like actual laborers were not there under Manrega, fake laborers were there. Now, once all the beneficiaries are tagged with these numbers, the almost like fake benefits or corrupt practices, or money going to the wrong person or non-existent person, that was also addressed in all the state governments and the central government. So this is the power of, you can say, I gave of all the digital payment infrastructure, all the digital public infrastructure. This is one benefit. And in the PMJDY scheme, which was based on really Aadhaar and RuPay card, and also on a mobile platform, which possibly we may talk about, mobile-based payment transfer, like Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, and mobile-based payment system, a lot of issues could get addressed. That's all. At this stage, I will stop and possibly wait for further questions and many.
Thank you, Mr. Hota. I think it's wonderful insights to what DPI can do and what are the areas that have been matured and built upon from for real financial inclusion and digital literacy on that. Further going on the same track, we have seen UPI's success, but what impact UPI has made beyond accelerating the journey towards the cashless society here?
India had launched one real-time money transfer system in 2010, which is called IMPS. It had the facility of sending money real-time, any time of the day, means 24/7. But it had the limitations. Limitation is that you can only send money. Collecting money, although the feature was there, it was not that friendly enough to do that. And IMPS was bank heavy. All the banks were to set up a lot of public infrastructure, and if at all we would like to make changes were a little slow. So in 2015, while reviewing the IMPS system. We came out in NPCI. I had the privilege of heading NPCI at that point of time. Then we hit upon a new idea on payments infrastructure, which will be like IMPS, it will be real time, 24/7. But we would also like to involve the entire ecosystem of technology service provider, innovators. So how banks and non-banks can both work on that. How pushing money as well as collecting money would be possible. Collecting money is a very important part of digital commerce, because when you buy goods through the on the e-commerce platform, actually what happens is that the seller of the goods, it really sends a pull message, would like to pull money. And while pulling money can also be real time, it used to be there only with the cards, Visa, MasterCard, or RuPay card, e-commerce enabled RuPay card, one can really buy things, or partly on internet banking with a limited number of banks which had got the access. So how can we really do the pull money also on the real time? So admitting the non-bank participants, admitting pulling money 24/7, it would be an open architecture with only protocols, no prescription of any particular programs or any particular hardware or software to the banks or the non-banks. Banks can, one bank can admit the can provide the payment in services to the customers of another bank. So interoperability of customers, you can be the customer of one bank, bank A, and you can choose the app of bank B, or you can choose the app of a non-bank participants who would have, of course, at the back end, there has to be some bank for doing the interbank settlement, but a non-bank applications, that is how the PhonePe, Google Pay, Paytm, and many of these applications grew. So by design, it was made to be an interoperable, open architecture in payments domain, both pull and push, 24/7, and only the protocols and the APIs, no prescription of hardware or software, and a big library of API library is built, which is commonly accepted by all. Was built, which would also be future-proof, which would be on a citizen scale. Citizen scale means like the ability to really serve the customers of all the citizens of the country, means it should be scalable, highly scalable. Infrastructure needs to be built, and which would enable a lot of plugins. So different commercial entities can, embedded payments can be provided. The payment service can get embedded into it, and it will be mobile first, because the smartphone usage of smartphone is growing. So that is how the UPI was designed, launched in 2016, over a period of now 7 years. You see the phenomenon. It has the kind of journey it has. I suppose unbelievable journey. I suppose it was such a great pleasure being the founder, MD, and CEO while the UPI was launched. It has become a sensation of the world. 11 billion transactions a month, and moving towards 2 billion transactions a day. I suppose even at one point of time, India used to learn from the Western world how to do the digital payments. Now, India has become the hub for providing insights into how future-ready payment systems can be built. I suppose it has become a phenomenon in the world. So that is how the UPI has taken shape. It is also an infrastructure, public infrastructure, where the banks, non-banks can develop a lot of solutions. Now, a lot of super apps have been are being developed with features of UPI embedded in it. So it is a great innovation, I would like to say.
Thank you, Mr. Hota. Now, one of the last questions for the panel is about the lending ecosystem. Now, account aggregator and OCIN both are essentially enabling that. So from your view, which one do you think will make the digital lending easier? Is there any preference one over the other here?
No, I suppose in sequence, both of them would really make a big difference. The account aggregators have already come. A few account aggregators have started providing services. RBI is also very keen. The regulator is very keen. And RBI is also pushing regulations such that more and more information service provider and not just for consuming, but information providers are also more and more banks join on almost all the banks. The government of India is also pushing all the public sector banks to be the both consumer and provider of information service, so that the lending becomes easier because in account aggregator, it is an excellent way, really mix of based on data privacy. The consumer means the customers give their information, banking information or transaction information, on the basis of which the lenders can take a call based on the kind of transactions and information that is available, not necessarily in the financial system. With the government machinery also, the GST is one information service provider, Aadhaar base, even the NPS, the pension payments network, kind of taxes which are being paid. So tax network, income tax network, GST network, Aadhaar, and the all kinds of service information that would be required in providing, in helping the lender to take a lending decision, and so that they can take the right lending decision. If with the consumer's consent, the data is made available to the intending lenders, and lenders can take the call. So account aggregator framework is taking shape, although it has not matured. I'm sure it will take a good shape. OCIN network is coming, where it's almost like the democratizing the access to credit, the way you would like to really go to a now the ONDC platform, like Amazon or Flipkart. You go there, you would like to take loans. So if you would like to take loans, you say that I would like to take loans, and I have given consent to my my entities through the payment aggregators, and the lenders can really bid for that, or they will really provide the loans. They will come out with the loans. So this is almost like an exchange platform whereby the borrower and lenders come together and the lending is imparted. And after bank account for all, credit for all is the goal, and that needs to happen. So that is also in the making, to make the task easier. RBI Innovation Hub is also coming out with a platform to make the task of the banks, NBFCs, and other entities easier, so that instead of the banks connecting to a lot of agencies, or through service providers for GSTN, for legal database, for identity verification, for collecting various documents, they will have to connect to so many establishments to get the information about the customer. Now, if they connect to the newly created infrastructure, digital payment infrastructure currently being built by RBI Innovation Hub, a new infrastructure which is coming up, they would just have to connect to one. And they in turn are already connected to the rest. All the government information service provider are already connected to the part of the RBI network. So to make the task of getting information, now India is now the information rich, so rich information, and there is a scope for getting richer and richer. I suppose so many new infrastructures are coming up to make the task of credit for all also a reality soon. That is how I would say.
Thank you, Mr. Hota, for the wonderful insights into DPI infrastructure. On behalf of FIS and all our audience, I really want to thank you and hope to see you soon. Thank you, Mr. Hota.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.